Howdy y'all, I'm Ghost Takes and I'm back with a new video. So today for Fig Friday, I thought, hey, we got news that The Last Ronin's going to be turned into a video game, and I just got this figure, so why not do a video review, right? Now, The Last Ronin is a story where all the turtles except one has died, right? And we don't know who the surviving turtle is. Now, you may be saying, if you know anything about the Ninja Turtles, like, oh, well, shouldn't you tell because of their iconic weapons or perhaps their iconic, like, masks, right? Because, like, if you know anything about the Turtles, you know Raphael is the one in red, he has the size, Leonardo's the one in blue, he has the swords, right? And etc., right? But that's how it usually works, right? But with The Last Ronin, he wears a black mask and has all the turtles' weapons and doesn't favor a single one in particular, right? Now, with the story, it takes place many years down the line, right? So The Last Ronin is a more older and ruthless, vengeful fighter, right? And with everyone being older, it does put a unique spin on the turtles' stories, right? I will say it does the stereotypical trope in comics where it's like, you have these famous characters, right? Why not twist it and make like a dark future for them? They do this all the time. Like there's Batman Returns, I think, where Batman's older and like the whole thing, right? They did the same thing with Spider-Man and they made him older and he was fine with killing people and stuff, right? So it doesn't do anything very special, but it's such a good trope. Now, with the story, it doesn't mean it doesn't give us hints on who the Last Ronin is, right? So as the story progresses, we see the different characters who passed away, right? Or got killed or whatever, right? And it just kind of happens usually one by one, or sometimes a couple of them would die at the same time. And this would include characters like Casey Jones, Splinter, just all of them, right? And obviously the turtles, but I will not spoil that. They die one at a time pretty much. Now, as I read the comic, right, my initial thought was that Raphael was going to survive, right? And that was just because, one, he's very angry and very brutal, right? And his fight style, I think, is like probably the best of all the turtles, if his anger didn't get in the way of him. So he was my prime candidate, right? For who I thought was going to survive. Then there's Leonardo, right? I thought of him as the second choice because of his leadership's like abilities and his wisdom as a leader. It could give him an upper edge on how to survive. Then there's Donatello with his intelligence, right? So I was assuming that could give him an edge also, right? Then there's Mikey, who is more of a clown than anything, right? Like, but with his unpredictability, it usually tends to work in his benefit, right? So that was my last pick. I cannot recommend the story enough, though. Please, you got to check it out if you're into turtles or anything, right? And yeah, it's a great way to continue the lore and still be heartfelt. Howdy, y'all. So now that my review's over with for the comic part of this, I just wanted to go over the actual figure itself, right? So I have the figure like this, right? I did a little modification from what he's like in the comics, right? I'll go into that in a little bit, but I just wanted to show off this figure because he has some really nice details that they just really did right in this, and you could just tell how good it is, right? So first off, I'm going to mention all of the accessories he comes with, right? So we have all these different ones, right? I'm pretty sure I'm missing a couple of them because I have them in the drawer, so they kind of blend in with other toys, or other figures, accessories, right? Like I have Naruto figures, so the kunai knives and stuff might be missing. Also, I got a couple other Ninja Turtles, so hands might be a little same. But I got a couple of these hands, so off the bat, you could just see the amount of detail. You got the comic, or not even the comic lines, just these lines on his fingers that look really nice. And I don't know how to say this, but this like padding right here just has some nice detail to it, you know? So that's pretty nice. Then we have this other head, right? Which I find a little more goofy than anything. I don't know why. It just looks a little off to me. I don't know if it's a mouth or whatnot. Also, we came with this extra bandana piece. I'm just assuming for a different look, but overall, still pretty cool. Again, kunai knives, right? It makes sense since he's a ninja, so I love these. They're amazing. then he comes with these like tiny little bombs, obviously more distinct towards Ninja Turtles, right, with their distinct way of building stuff. So that's kind of cool. And then crap ton of ninja stars. I got 3 right here. I'm sure I have more though. And these things are sharp as fuck. Let me tell you. I accidentally poked myself a couple times with these. So you definitely want to be careful with that. Now, some of these don't have the best quality because in one of the pictures I probably showed, right? You can see he has this goggle-like thing over his neck, which I'm in love with. But the problem is, as I try to like put down the head, the stretchy black piece immediately just broke on me. So that kind of sucks. But what can you do, right? He also came with this like claw-like thing right here for grappling hooks. So I thought it'd be really neat to have it like wrapped around his hand. I don't know. It just kind of just came up with me. So obviously he has a couple different alternating pairs of hands, which are nice, you know, punching, holding stuff, you know, just a regular gist for a Ninja Turtle. So you can see these different weapons, right? So obviously the Donatello bow staff, right? He has a Leonardo sword, right? Which again, sharp, you want to be careful on. Hold on, give me a sec. Then he also has one of Raph's size, again, super sharp, so be careful on that. And then he has this, I think they're called Taphons, or whatever they are. Really cool. I really love this for some reason. I don't know why, just the baton look is just so nice to me. And then in the back, Michelangelo's nunchucks. So that's pretty cool. And I'm not gonna lie, I love how you could just put each piece wherever, right? Like, if you want, you could have him holding the bow staff or the sword, right? Or if you want him to hold the nunchucks, you know, there's that. Or if you want them just in their own places, that's cool, right? So, off the bat, I'm not gonna lie, it does have a lot of problems, right? Doesn't mean I don't love this figure. This figure's absolutely fucking amazing. But number one issue I notice is in articulation. With the Ninja Turtles, I noticed this is a pretty huge figure problem overall, right? Because, well, with the shell, it's kind of hard to make the articulation make sense, right? So obviously, it's like practically no ab crunch whatsoever. Like, honestly, that's as far as it goes both ways. So that's a little bit of a bummer, but again, I don't mind personally because, again, details, right? He doesn't really have anything special going on for articulation in the elbows, right? Like, it's not too much, but it's not too less either, right? Like, I've seen worse in that category. And then, like, with hands for, like, figures where it has this over, I forget how to say it, but with hands, right, they have these little joint-like pieces that allow them to move in a certain way depending on how you move it, right? And when you have like gauntlets or something, it does limit the hand movement, which is always a pain in the ass, but it's okay in this situation, I'd say. But again, it's a little sad to see. The foot articulations, again, similar boat as the hands, right? Like, this is as far as you can go back, this is as far forward, and I don't really notice it half the time. Knees, again, same thing. Most of this is basically the same thing, right? I will admit, it's very redundant, but it is like that. Overall, his headpiece movement is kind of nice, right? You could take off this hoodie too. I personally love it because it just looks so nice on this figure. But you can see right here, it has like a giant like dumbbell-like joint. So if you watch my 2099 video, you'll know that like it does limit the amount of like movement you can go up and down with. So again, this is as high as he can go, and that's as much down as he can look. But again, love this figure. Wouldn't change too much about him. And then let's see here. So now another problem I'm having with this is that obviously with holding swords and stuff, right, you need this cool little strap-on piece, right? So you can see it's the circular one, and then you have this like wood, not even wooden, I'd say. It's more like a ropish like look to it. And these are to hold the weapons that last Ronin has, right? And I have two main problems with it. And number one is that it is really loose. So like to have the figure look like a normal sword holding part, right, it doesn't really work. Like you'd have to hold it to make it look more iconic, right? Otherwise it starts going toward the side because, you know, it's loose. And then the other problem is I tried to get the bow staff in the second one, right, because it's supposed to hold the sword, right, which I was able to force in. And then this one's supposed to be for the bow staff right here, and it just does not go in. Like the brown piece right here goes in, but once it gets to the white piece, it doesn't go in. And then if you try to put like go from there, it's kind of a pain in the ass because it just looks weird as hell, right? And then that also leads me to my second problem. I don't know what it is about Ninja Turtle figures, but they always make the hands a little too small as far as gripping goes. So if you try to stick on like a weapon, it usually tends to like kind of break the hand at the same time, right? So for example, when I'm trying to put on this piece, right, again, it has a similar problem where it's hard to fit on the white piece itself, but obviously that's how you have to hold it, right? So it actually starts rubbing off paint, and like a little bit of the plastic actually falls off. So that does suck a little bit, but again, once you get it on there, it looks amazing, right? Like I love the overloaded weapon feature he has, right? Where it's just like, okay, bow staff, sword, nunchucks, size, right? It all just looks amazing overall, right? So I would rate this figure probably a solid 8, maybe even 9, right? And again, that's only because of the little problems like articulation or why certain things don't fit. Overall, this figure is perfect, like outside of that, right? Because they really did keep the darker aspects of him, right? They kept the distinguished comic book lines, right? Like his face, it's not realistic and it's not supposed to be realistic, right? That's why I love figures. If they look like they're in their specific universe, it looks really nice, right? So honestly, really do love this figure. So if you've really enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing. I know this is probably a little more all over the place. It's just because I've never done a Ninja Turtle figure. But if you could consider liking, subscribing, and hit the notification button, really we do appreciate it. And peace!